Good morning and welcome to the Trading.com weekly update. And with me is Peter Maguire. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, Andrew.
Wow, what a weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the charts are the charts and the storyline is everything is energy focused, and we'll break that down this morning. But yeah, it's been the most incredible start to a Monday morning.
Yeah, and not in a good way. So it's pretty unfortunate.
Well, good if you're a long crude, you'd be rubbing your hands with glee.
I think just from a general population perspective, it's not ideal what's happening there. But let's start on oil. This market's moving around a lot. But that's a 1 year chart. But we were here last week and Brent was around in the mid to high 70s.
Yep.
So it's up nearly $30 in a week, which is understandable because of what's going on in Iran, of course, but still.
When you see it on the chart and you go, wow, it's hit 110,
yep.
You go, okay, this is game on.
Yeah, and it just flows into, if this continues for a protracted period, this just flows into everything else. So this is the last thing the US
Fertilizers, natural gas, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, the big importing energy nations.
Yeah, inflation, which means higher interest rates.
Do you get to stagflation?
Which is the last thing that the US Trump has been talking about pretty much for 12 months, when what he's doing now is basically crueling all of that and just making it really difficult for a lot of people. So
yep, it's going to get a lot tougher quickly, and then you've got the issue as far as fuel. And we had gas futures up in Europe last week. I think they were up 67%. But what happens is if you start to crimp supply, is what you're going to have rationing in Europe. You'll have rationing across Asia. You'll be the old. Remember I don't know whether you do remember. I do remember odd and even numbers in 73. Your number plate.
Yeah.
If your number plate in Sydney ended in a 9, you were an odd. That means that you had fuel. Today's Monday. You had Monday, but you didn't get. You couldn't fill up tomorrow, being an even number.
Yeah.
And we might go back to that.
Yeah, we'd hope. I know some cool heads in the Middle East prevail here and try and come to some sort of agreement just to slow this down a bit, because it is pretty drastic at the moment. Obviously, the VIX has spiked considerably. Now that's a 6-month chart, but only in the last few days, obviously, it's up considerably.
Well, we were thinking if you get above 25, it really starts to change the landscape, and now it's nudging 30, and that was a huge night on Friday.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you'll see it in Asian markets today. We're seeing it on the ASX already this morning, but overnight, the US markets overnight, the equity market's looks like open considerably down.
Well, the futures are down. Dow is down 1.87% on the futures right now. So that could actually increase as the day wears on.
Yeah, for sure. Moving away from the Middle East, we look at the Eurozone. They had the CPI last week, which came in just under 2%. So it's been pretty consistent there, but
a cheap oil.
Cheap.
Well, I mean that sincerely. With cheap oil, that's what you get. You all of a sudden that can be at 3% if you get oil sitting at $150 a barrel.
Yeah, and once again, the interest rate markets for quite a few months now, it's settled down considerably because they had come down quite a lot in the Eurozone. US were trending down, which was a good thing. All that's off the table at the moment. So we'll see. Euro dollar is obviously weakening, but a lot of that is on the strength of the dollar index.
Yeah, 99.50.
It's gone up a lot over the last.
And also, it's been bid up. That 10-year went from 394. We were only talking a week ago. It was 394. Yeah, now it's all of a sudden 414. It's up 20 basis points in a week.
Yeah. Once again, that's how they go to pay their debt back as well, on the back of the 10s, which makes it tough.
Yep.
Non-farm payrolls.
That was catastrophic.
Yeah, that was expecting roughly
55,000.
Yeah, and was it 92,000 down, which was.
Yeah, that really shook the markets hard, and I think that contributed naturally to the VIX and that washout on Friday. But that's a very disappointing number because all the analysts coming out 55,000. Some were saying 60, and yeah, that really was very, very soft.
Yeah, and I think the timing as well on the back of what's happening in the Middle East.
You couldn't have got a worse week or worse month.
No, so that all hit the market pretty hard there, unfortunately. So, but yeah, there's just so much to unpack, and it's changing so quickly at the moment as well.
Oh yeah, this is Usain Bolt territory. When it's sprinting like this, people say, well, what should I do as far as trading? You've got to have a very cool head. and you've got to look at where you see opportunities, and you've got to absolutely understand your risk tolerance, because when you have a market that can move $20 in an hour, that's crude oil, all of a sudden you don't, just be very, very mindful. Things can turn very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's the unknown at the moment, where Iran at the moment are clearly not backing down at all.
No.
If anything.
They're actually, I think, turning the boost up.
They seem to be. That's what it is. And I think other than Israel and the US, other countries aren't keen to get involved in this.
No.
They're sort of trying to get, the US is trying to drag them in, but a lot of countries are sort of thinking, hang on, we don't want this at all.
No. And that really creates a protracted war, which in turn lasts many months.
Yeah.
President Trump must be also thinking, he's got a mid-year or midterm at the end of October. The start of March, Andrew. You don't want this to go into April and May.
No. And I think just the US public generally, they just don't want to be involved in another war. It's just history repeating again, and you sort of shake your head thinking, what the hell are they doing?
Well, you don't want any loss of man, or woman in the armed forces, and get out of there.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on all that over the next week. Plenty going on. Obviously, keep an eye on these equity markets as well, because that could be pretty ugly overnight.
I'm worried about the likes of Taiwan, when we say that, and certainly South Korea and Japan, huge importers as far as energy, and what happens to their economies, which in turn would be the barometer of what happens on their indexes, the KOSDAQ. Where does Taiwan go? How does it get the fuel and coal and naturally gas and oil if Qatar's shut?
Yes. And I think sort of from the Chinese perspective as well. They were getting a lot of their oil from Venezuela and Iran.
Yes.
So if that crimps what they're doing, because they're just
catastrophic.
They're such a big global player now as well. There's a lot of unknowns at the moment, which is not ideal. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on all that over the coming days and weeks and recap next week.
Going to add one word: volatility.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Pete, thanks again.
Thank you, Andrew.
And that's the trading.com weekly market update.